Alright, what's going on everyone? Welcome back to channel Musa Gaming here, and today in the live stream we will be doing Commander Swap Guide. Yeah, that's what I called it in the title, right? So this is how it works. So in this tier list, I'm gonna rank which commander that you should be considering for your commander swap event that is coming into your KVK4 as you enter your KVK4. For example, a commander like Qin Huang will go into SS plus, SS tier, S tier, A tier, B tier, C tier. And then there's also two different tiers here, which is swap S and swap A. And those are the commanders that I will be ranking based on how I think, okay, well, maybe you should consider using those as the fodder for commanders. So those commanders would only be commanders that are available for you in KVK 1 and 2. Because as you enter KVK 3, you'll be using those commanders to swap. For example, for me, Tutmos, let's say I really think Tutmos is like S tier for commander swap fodder, right? Because I'm thinking about swapping my Tutmos to Qin Huang because of the fact that YSG Qin Huang is a big thing now, right? So that's how this is gonna work. And let's just go ahead and get started with what each tier means. So SS tier is gonna be the best tier in this tier list by default because it's at the very, very top. And there will only be one commander that would actually end up in SS tier just because I just want to separate what is the best commander swap commander that is currently out for the game at this very moment. So I'll just go ahead and say one god. SS tier just means that there's only one commander in the game that is going to be the #1 commander that you should consider swapping to when you do your commander swap event. S tier means top tier for troop. So that means, let's say it is #1 commander that you should consider swapping for each troop. For example, that is archer, cavalry, infantry. But then again, it is not the SS tier, which is the one god that you should never consider outside of that, never not consider this commander for. So that's what S tier means. A tier means generally good choice. Generally good choice. Makes sense, right? Because you only get two choices for commander swap, right? So SS tier, S tier, A tier. They're all good choices. But then again, what I would recommend you to do is actually combine either SS tier or S tier commander along with A tier, or SS tier and S tier commander, because those are going to be the best commander that you should consider swapping to once you enter your KVK 3 for commander swap event. So that's how this tier list is. Now, starting from B, those are the commanders that I would say maybe okay when conditionally. So I would say just conditional okay. So if this commander ends up in a B tier list, it might be okay for you to swap it. It's not the end of the world, I would say, but then again, it is still not recommended. It's not in the top tier. And I really think you're making a bad decision, but if it aligns with your preference, it is okay, is what B tier is. And C tier just means not recommended. So those are the commanders that I would not recommend that you actually swap to when the commander swap event does happen. So yeah, makes sense, right? And anything beyond C tier, I don't think it really makes sense. So C tier is basically, okay, well, this is like the worst tier that you can possibly think of. Makes sense? And then swap S and swap A, those are the commanders that, swap S means those are the commanders that you can actually use in KVK 1 and 2. And as you enter KVK 3 onward, those commanders actually become pretty useless, but then again, they're really good in KVK 1 and 2. So you can consider using them during the KVK 1 and 2, raise them up, skill them up however you want to be, and then actually swap them to whatever commanders you want. Swap tier A is going to be those commanders that are like, okay, you can technically use those for those, but then again, you might be missing out on some value. There are some factors that would actually prevent you from putting them to S tier, is what that means. All right. So let me see if I'm missing any commanders from down here. Let's go ahead and add those commanders together. I don't think Kamir is really... I guess I can add there. What else? Is there any other commander that I'm missing that is in... Oh, there you go. Nebu and Cyrus. I think Takeda might actually have to be in here too, just because now he's KVK2 commander too. What else? I think that's it. All the field commanders are actually in there, right? Uzi Tian, maybe. Uzi Tian, maybe. Yeah. Okay, that's it. Hey, Johnny, how's it going? Welcome back, welcome back. All right. Let's start from the undisputed god of Rise of Kingdoms at this very moment. This is a commander that you should consider swapping even if you're not Archer main as you enter KVK3, and that is going to be Qin Shi Huang, right? Qin Shi Huang is the current one undisputed god of Rise of Kingdoms. I don't think anyone really disagrees with this, right? If anyone disagrees with this, then let me know, because you need to have a long one-on-one talk with me for you to disagree with me on the fact that Qin Shi Huang is the one god of Rise of Kingdoms at this very moment. He's also a perfect commander that you should consider swapping to, just because of the fact that one commander that you can actually provide get the most value out of, which is YSG right here, pairs really, really well with Qin Shi Huang. Actually, YSG is the best commander pairing for Qin Shi Huang. So it enables you to actually just save up one commander swap for you to go make a full pair as you enter KVK3 with full season of Conquest pair, right? He's just a super legendary. I agree. He is absolutely out of this league. Period. This is the best commander in Rise of Kingdoms. The fact that it goes really, really well with KVK Season 1 commander, it just blows it up. He's the best commander in Rise of Kingdoms, no doubt about it. Let's go ahead and move on. Now, S tier, there's gotta be only one commander for each troop type, right? Undoubtedly, I would say for cavalry, it's gonna be Arthur. I think the only kind of alternative to Arthur is maybe Joan of Arc Prime, but like, let's face it, cavalry was in a very, very, I would say, depressed state until Arthur came into the game and kind of revitalized the whole cavalry gang at the end of the day, like earlier part of this year, right? So I would say it is undoubtedly Arthur sits at S tier for cavalry. Period. I don't think there's any other argument against putting Arthur in there, right? Now I would say infantry becomes a little bit difficult with the release of Baichu, because there's two commanders that are really important for infantry at this very moment, and those are Liu Che and Baichu. Both of them are strong commanders. But personally, I would say Liu Che sits at the S tier. Just because, for one, Liu Che actually is usable with other skill damage dealing commanders like Alex, which provides more versatility. Like if you put in Baichu, the only other commander that you just need another smite damage dealing commander, or Philip, right? Whereas Liu Che can be used with any commanders in Rise of Kingdoms just because of that expertise with combo. As a matter of fact, if you're a cavalry main and you want to actually use Liu Che as a secondary to Arthur in Artifact KVK, that's also very possible too. So I would say Liu Che sits at the S tier. And for now, because Arthur does not have a proper combo pairing outside of Philip, I would say Liu Che actually sits at the front seat of S tier over Arthur. Anyone disagrees on the chat? Going once, twice? Alright, let's move on. I would say Philip is probably one of the S tier commanders that you can also consider as well. But if you're a fresh out of KVK2 commander swap person, if you're swapping with Qinshi Huang, I don't know if you really want to swap the second commander with Philip is my only worry. If you just don't care about archers at all, you can go with Liu Che, Philip, and then have that one full march. But then again, it is a little iffy. I get that. I'm borderline like maybe Philip should be on the A tier, but I think for now it is safe to put him at S tier. He's a leadership representative here. And I think he's not a bad choice if you were to swap to Philip, just because he can be used with Liu Xie, he can be used with Alex, Arthur, he can be used with Bai Chu. You can use any commander with Philip. So at this point, yeah, I think a S tier might be a good idea. How useful would Philip be if you were only running 1 or 2 marches? I think he'll be very useful because let's say you already have YSG built in for your setup, and you swap the first commander with Qinshi Huang, and then you swap the second commander with Philip. Yeah, that's kind of odd. You'll probably want Liu Che swapped, and then you might want to work on Philip or Bai Chu. So it is a little tough, I would say. But there are also other commanders, other people who are actually coming back with returning commander swap events. But even then, yeah, I don't know if Philip will be actually swapped out, to be really honest with you. Right? So let's say I'm a returning player. The one commander that you should be swapping is Qinshi Huang, right? And if you're archer main, you're fine with the first pairing. You might have Liu Che, and then you might actually be able to get Philip so that you can get Liu Che Philip going. But then again, at that point, you should actually get Bai Chu instead. So I'll actually move him down to A tier. A very left side of the A tier might actually is not a bad place. I feel like he's a jack of all trades, master of none kind of commander. Yeah, I agree. I think Philip swap is a high priority, more useful for returning players that have marches to buff. I think that's all fair points. I think A for Philip is probably a good place. I think he does need to be bumped down a little bit. Good. All right. Do we want? I think SS tier. Those are all solid. I was thinking about maybe putting Zhuge Liang in there, but even if you're archer main, I don't think you really want to swap Zhuge Liang into S tier, right? If you're archer main, you want Qinshi Huang swapped in. You want to use YSG continuously instead of swapping to Zhuge Liang, which is what I decided on my restart account too. So I don't think we should put Zhuge Liang there at all. And I would say maybe we should put him over here at A tier. Well, if you want to run 2 archer marches and you happen to have, let's say, Herman Prime or something like that, like maybe, but yeah, I don't think he deserves to be among the S tiers, to be really honest. Now, is there any other commanders that can actually end up in the S tier? And I'll say, and I think a lot of you might actually disagree with this. I think Gonzalo deserves the last spot for S tier, even for the engineering commander mains. Gonzalo, what do you think? Kevin is the expert here in Gonzalo because he is the siege commander expert. Bai Chu not S. I think because Liu Che is better than Bai Chu. I think Liu Che is better than Bai Chu, and then only one commander can be in S tier for each troop type. So that's basically what this is. Bai Chu is a good, like, very strong, solid commander. I think he should be in S tier if there was no Liu Che. You're not going to replace him in a long time. Yeah, I think Liu Che and Gonzalo, Arthur, all of them are. Yeah, you're never gonna get away from Gonzalo. If you have to play one march in engineering, you have to run Gonzalo. A lot of you who are watching this right now and who are watching this later might be thinking, oh well, why is a siege commander in there? Like, the truth is, a lot of players are running at least one siege march, or some of the players are actually maining siege. So by definition, top tier for each troop, I think Gonzalo is the best engineering commander in the game, and hence I think he should have a place in S tier, in my opinion. Makes sense, Crimson, for the Baichu. Yeah. I was speaking of Baichu. Free to play kill point right there. I mean, yeah, everyone. There's a lot of people who are playing free to play, and like, in all honesty, like, I think even for free to play, Qin is a no-brainer. And then Gonzalo, if you want to actually earn up some kill points from running siege with one archer march, that is not a terrible idea. As a matter of fact, if I decide to make my restart account a fodder account, that's something that I would consider. Maybe perhaps running YSG with Qin Shi Huang and one siege march might be something that I would start off to get enough kill points to migrate eventually. It's what I might think. So yeah. And Baichi should be at the very, very top of the A tier, I think. Baichi deserves a spot in S tier. The only reason why he's not S tier is because Yuche is so versatile, so well paired with everyone else. Like, Yuche goes well with William Wallace, Yuche goes well with Alexander the Great, Yuche goes well with, like, Philip, Yuche goes well with Baichi. I mean, come on, there's one commander that you have to swap aside from Qin Shi Huang as infantry main as you enter KPK3, that is Liu Che. 100% in my opinion. I just think it's gonna be hard to get there in the rap event. Yeah, maybe. With all that said, what else can be in the A tier? I think maybe Gonzalo can be an A tier. Actually, no. Let's wait for the Gonzalo, because let's actually do all the commanders that I want in the A tier first, and then move on to other commanders. Like, I think Gonzalo might be a B tier, just because its definition is conditionally okay, right? His only use is actually being paired really, really well with Gonzalo. But do I want to waste one slot for commander swap event to actually make him swap, like, in place of Qin Shi Huang? I'm not too sure, right? Because there's no way that you're not going to get Gonzalo if you're a siege main, right? So that's what I would say. I think Jonobar Prime is generally a good choice. Yeah, Jonobar Prime is generally a good choice, I would say. The reason why she's a good choice is because she does AoE damage, second most DPS commander among all cavalry. If you don't care about archers, if you're cavalry main, you should consider getting Joan of Arc Prime with Arthur. So it is something that some people will consider. So that's why I would say Joan of Arc Prime, not a bad choice. Could be cool to do a reverse too. Which commanders are the easiest to expertise in time for the swap event? Justin F, you brought a good point, and that's what those swap S and swap A tiers are for. Yeah, swap tiers on the bottom are for that. If you're playing Siege at all, you must pick Gonzalo. I interpret S as if I'm building that troop type, I gotta pick this commander up. Yeah. And S tier, I think those are all the S tiers that I can think of at this very moment. If you're infantry, your choices are either Qin Shi Huang, Liu Che, or Liu Che, Baichu. If you're cavalry, you're Qin Shi Huang, Arthur, or Arthur, Joan of Arc Prime, or Arthur, Philip. If you're engineering, you're considering Qin Huang with Gonzalo. If you're archer, you are considering Qin Huang plus any of those commanders here. I think that's the solid S tier, SS tier, and A tier. Anything I put in beyond that, I think it kind of goes outside of the definition of A tier, in my opinion. And I think we can go ahead and move on from A tier. There's no other commander that I see here that can be put alongside with these commanders, in my opinion. All right. Now, Gonzalo is maybe an A tier, but even I think what I said before was true. So I think Gonzalo deserves the top of a B tier, conditionally okay. Even for siege main players, I think you should still get Qin Shi Huang, because you need at least one march to actually feel on the open field, like actually marching in and out of the fights. And for that reason, I think Gonzalo, Qin Shi Huang should be the only option that you should have as engineering main still. But conditionally, if you're not building any of the open field commanders, for example, if you're a farm account, if you're raising an engineering farm account, condition, which is a conditionally, right? It goes by the definition of conditionally right here. Like Gonzalo Gazamana is actually okay for you to consider, in my opinion. Yeah. I don't think there is anything, wrong with choosing Gaza and Gonzalo, but if you want at least one commander to actually open field fight, Qin Shi Huang and have him paired up with YSG is just the best right now. I think this is still conditional. Now, what other commanders should we consider? I think William Wallace maybe can be here, but I think this is more for commanders, people who are actually coming back to the game, and they already have Liu Che, right? They're coming back to the game. They're like, oh yeah, the returning player event. You don't really want to raise Archer for whatever reason, and you just want to focus on having two really strong infantry marches. You have Liu Che, Bai Chu, and then William Wallace, so that you can run Liu Che with whatever commander that you can pair Liu Che with, and then Bai Chu with William Wallace. I think some people can. I can see a world where some people can still go for William Wallace here. Nevsky. Nevsky is a tough person, man. You do me dirty here, Kevin. You're putting me at a tough spot right here, man. Yes, let's talk about Nevsky. I think Nevsky is C. In 2025, it is generally very difficult for me to suggest that you should commander swap. Use one of the two chances that you get for commander swapping on Alexander Nevsky. In my opinion, I don't see a scenario in my head. Let's say you're an old player. You come into the game, the only commander that you actually had was like none of the Season of Conquest commanders, right? Then you should swap Qin Shi Huang with Arthur, or Arthur with Joan of Arc Prime, and maybe Ho Chi Bing, so that you can use Arthur properly. There's no world that I can imagine in multiverses that Nevsky can be outside of C tier, in my opinion. Agree. I feel Nevsky won't last in future much. Yeah, yeah. As much as it hurts me to say this too, I mean, I've used Nevsky for a very long time. I gotta tell you, let's go back to my main account. Like, good lord, I've used Nevsky day and night. Like, since I got this commander, right? Like, if you go check out my Nevsky, and I still don't use him anymore. Where's my Nevsky at? Nevsky. Yeah, like, I got 60 million kills with him. Let's see. Yeah, Ho Chu Bing and Nevsky are my two boys that I used to have before Arthur came out, right? 60 million kills. And then I gotta tell you, I can't think of any world that where I would swap to Nevsky. If you're doing 2 marches, you could use Martyr Pyrrhus with your Bai Chilucha to pad the march out. Yeah, for infantry, I think that's not a bad. Martyr or Pyrrhus with your Bai Chi or Lucha to pad the march out. Yeah, I think that's a good option, I think, in my opinion. And speaking of Ho Chu Bing, let's go ahead and put him at the very last spot of B. Ho Chu Bing's weird. I think Ho Chu Bing Arthur is still technically the best commander pairing for cavalry. I think Joan of Arc Prime is just safer, in a safer place at the end of the day. So I would say Ho Arthur. I see a world where some people might just want one perfect march, the best cavalry march that there is. It is not Arthur Philip. It is Ho Chi Minh Arthur. Conditionally, and you don't want to see Archer's face anymore. You don't want to go with Archer. I see where people can potentially run into Ho Arthur, and then swap those two commanders as they enter KVK 3. But yeah, not recommended. Conditionally okay. I think that's basically what I would say. Now, does any commander in Season of Conquest deserve a B tier? Now, Herman Prime is a very interesting commander. I think in a very, 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 very strict condition, Herman Prime could be useful, where you quit when Zhuge Liang came out, you got Zhuge Liang, you got him expertise for whatever reason, and then you quit the game. In those worlds, maybe you can actually swap Qin Shi Huang with Qin Shi Huang and Herman Prime. Maybe, again, maybe. There is a world, very, very conditional. I'll put him at the very, very last place of conditionally okay. But Herman Prime, I would say, maybe, just maybe. Now, the last commander that I would put in conditionally okay, I would say Ragnar Prime. And you guys might actually not agree with me, but I think Ragnar Prime actually deserves a better spot than Herman Prime. There is a world where you have a bunch of different skill damage dealing commanders. You came back to the game, you have a bunch of different skill damage dealing commanders, and you're like, I got Qin Shi Huang. No, I don't want Qin Shi Huang. I got Liu Qi, and I'm using him with Alex right now. And I just want to complete another second march that is going to be infantry skill damage. I don't know. This is hard. What do you guys think? Should I push him out? Is B okay for Ragnar Prime? Let's put that up to a poll. Like, I can't decide. Ragnar Prime B okay? Let's put that up to a poll and let's go ahead and move on. Alright, I can't make a decision there. Like, to be really honest with you. That's a very, very hard decision. So you guys go ahead and vote for Ragnar Prime. I'm going to put him back right here. And that's a very tough decision. And everything else. Scipio Prime, same problem with Nevsky. Yeah, he doesn't have a place among all the other commanders to be selected as the two commanders that you should be swapping to in commander swap event in any condition whatsoever in 2025, in my opinion. So let's go ahead and put him there. Let's move on. Guan Yu, even worse than Scipio Prime, right? Guan Yu has a lot of silence. That's all great, but if you don't have him, just get him from the daily shop, make him 5-1-1-1, and then use him for the silence, or 5-5-1-5 or something like that. That's how I use him. 5-2-5-5 or something like that. Just use him from the daily shop. Don't waste your commander swap event chances on your Guan Yu. It's what I would suggest. Nothing else to it, period. Alright, Boudica Prime even worse than Guan Yu. Like, she doesn't have a place here at all. But she is an open field commander. She just had to be here. I'm just putting her in there just for the sake of, hey, she's also an open field commander. Xiangyu is the worst out of the worst here. Like, Xiangyu doesn't even have a place here. Xiangyu even doesn't even deserve a place in open field in 2025, hands down. There's no other commanders that are here that are open field, right? Okay, cool. Cool. Wait, hold on. I feel like I'm missing an archer commander. Yeah, Shazar here. Shazar, same deal. Maybe better than all those commanders. Just because she's the later commander. Yeah, I was looking for Shazar, actually. And yeah, Shazar, she does healing, okay. She does skill damage, okay. Not really good at either of those things. So yeah, she's okay. Actually, she's a good pairing for Qin Shi Huang on Sunset Canyon. So I'll just actually move her up a little bit higher. Maybe better than FC. Yeah, Shazar is not a bad commander pairing. But then again, YSG is better. Zhuge Liang is better. Why settle for less if you can just do better? Period, right? Yeah, that's what I would say. William is probably somewhere here. Maybe worse than Guan Yu, just because whatever William does, everyone else does it too. It is what it is. Let's move on. Nevu probably deserves a somewhere a little bit ahead of Xiangyu just because he has better AoE. And Trajan, I think, because he's a leadership buffer. If you don't have him, for some reason you came back to the game, I see where he's a little better than Scipio Prime to swap. No, a little worse than Scipio Prime. He does have a place in the field if you have him, but if you don't have him already, I don't know what's good here. All right. Now, Belisarius Prime, probably same deal. Right after Nevsky, maybe. He does have a place. He does have a use, but not something that you should consider using in 2025 either way, or consider building in 2025 either way. Any other commander? Let's just go ahead and move all the commanders up here. Pakao. I would say, yeah, I'm not gonna touch all the rallying garrison. Pakao, I would say better than all these, but not better than William. He's what it is. Hey guys, go ahead and vote for Ragnar Prime. He's the only commander that I have not decided. So is Ragnar Prime okay to be put in conditionally? Okay, I don't know. I don't see a world in my head where Ragnar Prime can be placed there. I need your opinion, guys. I need your opinion. So go vote for it. And with that said, I think that's all the commanders that I can think of that can be considered for commander swap events for non-rally garrisons. So this is for open field, strictly for open field. Oh wait, hold on. I forgot Leonidas, and I'll just put him at the bottom. It's not really the best commander for you. I'll put him up here for the swap tier list. And everything else, yeah, I think we're good. All right, let's go ahead and move to the swap tier. Now, for me, let me go ahead and clean out Minamoto. Minamoto cannot be swapped. I just accidentally added him there just because. So that's something that I can technically, you know, we don't need to. We can't have Minamoto there. And let's see. I would say Tutmos is S tier. The reason why I would put Tutmos as S tier for swapping fodder, like the swapping commander, is simple. For one, he's a gold key commander. He's a gold key commander. He is usable in KVK1. He's technically usable in KVK2 field as well. And then once you finish using him in KVK1 and 2, you just don't use him on Season of Conquest. So his best use is him actually being used for fodder to be swapped out to Qin Shi Huang, in my opinion. The fact that he's a gold key commander is great because it provides you a lot more kind of usage a lot more access to his commander sculptures, so it does make it a lot easier. It does make your life a lot easier there too, at the end of the day. I would say another commander is Purist, and I'll put him above Tutmos for a reason. For one, it's because Purist, you can get him from daily specials a lot earlier than Tutmos, I believe. Right now, in my restart account, I can actually already get Purist heads from daily specials. He's a gold key commander, which is really good. He's usable in KVK 1, he's usable in KVK 2. He's not as meta as Tutmos on the field for KVK 1 and 2 though. Like, if you can choose, you would rather use... If you can't choose 2 Marshes, you can use Richard with maybe Purist. But then again, I would just rather use Charles Mattel with YSG and then Richard with either Alex or Sun Tzu. So Purist is okay. You do have more accessibility than any other commander, than Tutmos, just because of the fact that you do get him from dailies a lot earlier. So I'll just put him there. I'll actually put him behind Tutmos, just because Tutmos you can actually use him for KVK 1 and KVK 2 for the field. So yeah, I'll actually put him right there. YSG, I'll put him at A. Just because you probably don't want to swap YSG if you max him out, right? He's a great commander. He's one of the best commanders that you can have your hands on for KVK 1 and 2. But then again, if you're swapping one of the commanders out to Qin Shi Huang, you probably don't want to swap YSG, right? So it's not because he's not usable in KVK 1 or 2. It's not because he's not accessible. It's because he's so good that he's actually usable in Season of Conquest. That's why I put him at A tier. Saladin. Okay. If you're cavalry main, you do need Saladin for KVK 2. You get him from Midas Governor event. His accessibility is kind of bad though, right? Because you can't get him from gold key commanders. So I'll actually put him at the earlier part of swap A than YSG. YSG is gonna end up all the way down here, by the way. He's like the worst commander that you should be swapping to if you're thinking about using Qin Shi Huang. So just FYI. Yeah, and I think that's it. I don't see a better placement for Saladin. Again, he's a good commander in KVK 1 and 2. You can use him at 5551 and save up a lot of gold heads. And you can swap him out to different commanders as you enter Season of Conquest. Period. I would say that's a very, very good use of him. Once you enter Season of Conquest, Saladin basically loses all value, except when you're entering KVKs that has auxiliary skills, then you're kind of forced to have Saladin skilled up, which is kind of bad. Like if you go into Heroic Anthem and they have like Bastion for Saladin skill, you're like, oh my god, I just swapped him out. Like, why are you doing this to me, right? So that's the only downside of it. I feel like YSG might be one of the last swap A. Yeah, I agree with you 100%, man. Alright, it looks like there's no more votes. It is 50-50 for the poll. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put Ragnar Prime at the very last place for B. I think he does have the power level of all those commanders that are up here. That's the only reason why. There is a very, very unlikely condition that he is potentially usable. So I'll put Ragnar Prime at the very last place for B. And then let's just go ahead and move on. He does have a very high skill damage factor, so it is what it is. CJ. CJ is probably another A, somewhere around in between the Saladin and YSG, just because he's actually usable with pincer. If you have 2 full pincer sets that you want to run, you can run Baichi, Luce, and then you can run CJ with William Wallace or any mixture of those 4 at the end of the day. And that actually works because of how strong Pincer is nowadays on the field. So it is what it is. But then again, because he's useful, he probably shouldn't be swapped out too. So that's my guess. That's my definition of him. So yeah, that's why I'll put CJ down here for the swap 8 in between Saladin and YSG. Now, Charles Martel. Charles Martel is an interesting commander. He is probably one of the most accessible commanders in the game. You can get him from Mighty's Governor event. You can get him from gold keys. And for some reason, I don't know if this is just me, but I have a feeling that I get a lot more Charles Martel gold heads, Charles Martel legendary commander sculptures from gold keys than any other commanders that I just talked to you about. Maybe Cao is another commander that you could consider as accessible. His dailies actually come in later, so that's the only downside of it. I'll say he is probably right above Pyrrhus. I mean, you can use Charles Martel after Season of Conquest comes in. Actually, I'll put him after Pyrrhus, just because of that reason. There's a couple usages of Charles Martel. For example, you can use him for Garrison, City Garrison. Even if you enter Season of Conquest, you know, you can actually use him for garrisoning certain places, where you actually garrison with Charles Martel with, I think, like some of the smite damage dealing commanders with Pincer or Arch. So he does have a lot of usages, so that's why I'll put him down, because he's more useful, right? For me, all the gold key legendary commanders are Mulan and Cao Cao. Yeah, let's go ahead and move on from Charles Martel. I think he's okay where he is. Mehmet, I'll put him right after Tutmos for many reasons. For one, he's very versatile. He's basically fillet of KVK 1 and 2. You can get him from gold keys, you can get him from dailies very, very early on. I'm currently gathering gold key, the dailies for Mehmet right now, and he's very, very strong. He does give you that skill damage buff that you really, really need. He does do AoE, conic damage, and he can be paired with YSG, he can be paired with Tutmos, he can be paired with any other commanders in the game right now. And when he does rally City, for whatever reason, if you do City rally, he does do extra damage. So all in all, I would say Mehmet is a good commander, but once you enter Season of Conquest, he does become useless. Like, the damage factor is just too low, right? So I would say a lot of archers should consider building Tutmos and Tutmos, YSG, and Mehmet, and consider swapping Mehmet and Tutmos into Qin Shi Huang and either Zhuge Liang or any other commanders that you want to swap them out with. I think that's what like Archer's strategy is supposed to be, in my opinion. So that's how I will put him at S tier. Again, very accessible because he's a gold key commander. Much more so accessible because he is accessible from daily bundles much earlier on, almost as early as Pyrrhus is. So it is what it is. I think Tutmos deserves that spot right there. For that reason, Cao Cao, I think deserves a spot right below Tutmos. He's more accessible than Tutmos or even Mehmet. He's as accessible as Charles Martel. He's kind of usable, but then again, he's not really that good on the field. That's the only downside of him. But if you're running rallies, KVK 1, he's not a bad commander. He's just not a great commander. If I'm running rallies with cavalry, I'll run just Minamoto with YSG, and that's it. Very unlikely that I'm going to use Cao Cao over YSG, in my opinion. But you can get Cao Cao has very, very easily. As a matter of fact, I swapped out Charles Martel and Cao Cao when I did the commander swap event long time ago. So the reason why he's actually in the S tier and the very top of the S tier is because he is so easy to get. You can actually practically expertise him, or at least have like 555x, 555, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. By the time that you enter KVK Season 3, possibly. So if you're just raising him up just for the purpose of swapping, commander swapping in the future, I think Cao Cao is actually not a bad option because of how accessible he is at the end of the day. With that said, let's just go ahead and move on. El Cid. El Cid is accessible because he is Midas Governor Commander. He is also Gold Key Commander. He's not that usable on the field. I would say he probably deserves a spot above Charles Martel. Again, Charles Martel, the only reason why he's getting pushed out a little bit is because he's so useful in the future. He has uses in Season of Conquest in certain scenarios. And Unfortunately, Elsid does not have a place. I think place between Pierce and Charles Mattel is probably his place right there. Frederick, a lot of people don't know, but Frederick, one's expertise has 2400 damage factor in the game, along with some healings that he does for himself. But that is a crazy amount of damage factor, single target damage factor that he can do in the game. But no one really builds Frederick. No one's gonna invest gold heads into Frederick just because he does a lot of single target damage. I mean, like, come on, who's really going to invest in Frederick, right? So that's why I'll put him at A tier, probably above YSG. You're not gonna have enough Frederick has no matter what you do. You're not gonna have more Frederick has than Cao has. You're not gonna have more Frederick has than Met has. It is just very inaccessible, so that's why I'll put him at A tier. Now, Frederick's gross. Hey yo, he does some crazy stuff, but like, yeah, I don't know. All right, but then ahead, Edward Woodstock. So here's the thing with Edward of Woodstock. It is very difficult for you to get Edward of Woodstock, right? Like, you actually have to spin the wheel for him, and he's not really that good on the field. The only use that you have of him is for rallying and garrisoning. No, just rallying for archers in KVK2. But if you invested your gold desk into him, you can consider using him as a swap fodder. I would say he probably deserves a spot somewhere here. Like, if you have him expertise, right, you can use him, but he's so inaccessible. Like, you actually have to build him for the kingdom, and that's it. Like, you're just building him for the kingdom. And like, technically, when you enter like other KVKs where you can actually get a skill out of him in like auxiliary skill format, like, he's still technically usable in that sense. So I don't know if I'll actually recommend 100% that you actually use him for swapping. If you have him, great. If you use him, not the end of the world for swapping, but then again, I don't know. I would still rather keep him and then just swap Cao or any of the commanders in the S tier than ahead at the end of the day. Alright, Julius Caesar. Julius Caesar is much more accessible. He is Midas Governor Commander, he's Gold Key Commander. I think he does have less usage than El Cid. So he's a very good commander that you can actually just throw away into Commander Swap event, in my opinion. So I'll just put him at the S tier. Probably above Pyrrhus, because Pyrrhus could be used in Season of Conquest, maybe, if you really want to use him. At least temporarily. Not really, but, you know, he's a better Commander Swap option than Pyrrhus. You can actually get him from dailies, so that is also good, just giving that extra accessibility. The only problem with Julius Caesar is that he's really not that good of a commander in KVK 1 and 2. Well, in that case, I'll just put him down. Bump him down one of Pyrrhus, because you can actually use Pyrrhus really, really well in KVK 1 and 2, in my opinion. So yeah. So that's why I'll put him. Let's move on. Constantine. If you have built Constantine for KVK Season 2, you should probably consider keeping him. Just swap any of the commanders that are in the swap S tier. Constantine, you can use him for Season of Conquest for one purpose, and that is actually for either surviving garrison or Sunset Canyon. He is absolutely amazing for Sunset Canyon, and a lot of people use him. So I'll actually put him right above YSG, because I think YSG is a worse decision to swap than Constantine. All right, let's move on. Richard. Okay, Richard is accessible commander, but he does have really good usage in Season of Conquest, right? He is basically a must-have commander if you want to chain barbs, in my opinion. His second skill is 30% health, 30 speed. Yeah. Are you talking about Constantine, or let's go back? I think he's talking about Constantine or Frederick. Where's Frederick at? No. I think he's talking about Constantine. Where's Constantine at? 40% off. Edward. Yeah, Edward of Woodstock. Sorry, I saw your comment a little late. But Edward of Woodstock is amazing if you can use his auxiliary skill for Season of Conquest KVK Swords. So I think, yeah, I think if you have a choice to make, you can actually swap him. But you know, if you have any of those commander in the S tier skilled up a lot better, then I'll just say just go ahead and use those commanders. Why bother swapping him out when he has potential uses there? Okay, going back to Richard. Richard is a good commander. I'll just put him right in front of Constantine. He's a great commander for chain barbing in the future. And yeah, like there's no better option than Richard. No, not that many better options than Richard. Like I think the only pairing that I can think of is Qin Shi Huang with Shazar. They do a lot of damage and healing. But Richard is just really, really useful, I think, as you enter KPA Season of Conquest. So I'll just put him at A tier, the bottom of the A tier. Alright, Alexander the Great. I would put him actually below Constantine, just because if you're an infantry main, you swap Qin Shi Huang and Liu Che, your best option at that point is actually just use Liu Che with Alexander the Great, use Qin Shi Huang with YSG, right? It is probably a bad idea for you to swap Alex at the end of the day. Alex also has great skill set. You can use him for auxiliary skills as well in the future too. And I just, all in all, I think if you can keep Alex, I would say just keep Alex. There's a lot of better options out there, you know, in the S tier. Just why not use those instead of Alex at the end of the day? That's my opinion. Now, Bertrand is an interesting commander. He's not the best commander in the world. I've used him. I've tested him. He's not better than Philip as a pairing for Arthur even. The only reason why I would say maybe you should consider keeping Bertrand as simple is because he might get kick-ass museum buff. And for that reason, I'm going to put him below CJ right there. He basically serves the same purpose as CJ, actually above CJ. Because CJ actually has roles, but like Bertrand, if Philip can do a better job than you do, man, you really need a big buff in museum buff, right? So that's why I'll put him above CJ. He's obviously better commander for you to actually have if you want to use Philip somewhere else. So yeah, I think this is a good place for him. Mulan has uses. She can buff. But as you enter Season of Conquest, you might not need her as much. But I think she's a worse commander to swap from than Frederick, so I'll just put her right there. Alex is great for auxiliary skill. Yeah, I 100% agree with you, man. Alex is absolutely fantastic either way. So yeah, I would say I would not swap Alex out if you have an option. Tamiris, I think the same with Edward of Woodstock. She does have a little bit more open field, but then again, like the only use that you have in this game for Tamiris at the end of the day is by using her with Edward of Woodstock as a pairing for Archer Rally in KVK2. There's no other use for her. Period. Let's go ahead and move on. Cyrus, I don't know where Cyrus is. It's very unaccessible, and I would say he's easier choices than Bertrand and CJ. I don't know if he actually goes above him, but he does have auxiliary skills. A lot of KVKs actually use his auxiliary skills, I think, if I remember correctly. So I'll keep him right here. Takeda is an interesting commander. It used to be that you can use Takeda with Attila so that you actually can do maximum damage, because normal damage somehow causes more severely wounds with Attila Takeda than skill damage like commanders. But now everything's gonna be Attila Subutai. If you have to swap him away, I would say he's okay. He is better option than Bertrand, I would say. I don't know about those trios though, so I'll just put it right there. And let's go ahead and move on. Wu Tian. Wu Tian's an interesting commander. She is the best. She's the best garrison in KVK season 2, but that's only usage of her. Period. And for that reason, I would say she probably deserves a spot right below Saladin. Saladin is actually okay. Like you can actually use him more so than Wu Tian, just because Wu Tian is very rare that you can actually expertise her. Whereas Saladin, some people who wants to actually do well in the KVK2 field can expertise Saladin and use him. So I would say Wu Tian is a below Saladin, but if you're Rally Garrison in KVK2, you probably want to swap her out to Field Commander, because as you enter KVK3, they will be facing against people that will have meta Garrison and rallies. So yeah, for that reason, there's more reason for you to swap her out, but she's not really a good commander either way. So I don't know if you really want to get her in place of, let's say, just using Charles Martel with YSG. You know, like those are just good Garrison in KVK 1 and 2, right? So I don't know. That's just my opinion. I think Khan serves the same purpose, except that he's just Wheel of Fortune commander. He does have one use, which is basically running Cavalry Rally along with Saladin and KVK2, and that's it. But he's slightly better than Minamoto or YSG as a pairing to Saladin, but he is not great. He's not a huge jump. He's just a tiny little baby steps buff, and his auxiliary skills are useful, but then again, not as great as, let's say, that of Alexander the Great. His fielding is horrible. It's not horrible, but it's not that good. Like, all of his skills are conditional. So I would say if you have him expertise for KVK2 rallying, you can easily swap him out with other commanders. Not as accessible as all the commanders in the S tier, to be really fair. So I think this is the right place for him. All right, I think that's it for all the commander swap guys that I have prepared for you today. If you guys did enjoy today's video, please go ahead and drop me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And as always, I'll see y'all in the next video. I'm gonna close out the recording right now, but I'll be continuing the live stream. So for those of you who are in the live stream, please don't bail out on me. But anyways, let's go ahead and close the recording.